And now go over to your YouTube.
Okay, I'm waiting for it to pop up for me.
And you can just click on the one you have open already. And then there should be the button there that says go live.
Okay, so I need to go to the actual YouTube scheduled.
Actually, Penny, I'm looking at the YouTube now, and we are live. So
oh, it's working.
Yes, so
Thank
everything
you,
is working. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you, so we don't have to keep you on the line then. Thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome, you guys. I'm so glad it worked. Have a wonderful show, and have a wonderful
Thank you.
week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Be safe. Okay, Mr. Norman, let me get I'm getting the internet ready for you. Hang on one second. Stop the music. And 3, 2, 1, and you're live.
Good afternoon, world. Good afternoon. You are listening to Issues and Answers on the WCEG network. Just in case you don't know, you can reach us on WCEGtalkradio.com. Click live stream if you're just listening on the phone. Or you can watch us live on your smart TV. Just go to YouTube. You know what YouTube is. WCEG Network. I am Norman A. Carter Jr., differentiating myself from my great son, Norman A. Carter III, and I'll be your host of Issues and Answers for the next hour or so. We might go a little bit longer, but definitely for an hour or so. And we are the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and on Instagram, we're at WCEG_talk_radio or at WCEG Network. And just to remind you, the topics and the opinions here are strictly mine and the wonderful guests that we'll be featuring later on, and not the WCEG network, because, you know, they give me autonomy to just go out there and just get into it deeply. So I don't want to blame them for what I say. It's all about me. So welcome. I know this has been a trying weekend for most of us here in the United States of America. And trust me, at this time, it's more important to be united than ever. But we shall be getting into some interesting things this week, this program. We will be joined by Mrs. Triana Arnold James, who is running for the state senator of the 30th District of Georgia. She'll be coming to us live. And later on, we'll be speaking with Judge Tamika Hrobowski Houston, who is running for a Fulton County Superior Court judge. And I do believe we have Mrs. Arnold James with us now. How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you loud and clear, Mrs. Arnold.
Good. I'm out here in Douglas County, in Douglasville, at the protest here at Arbor Place Mall.
Oh, fantastic. What's the makeup of the group that you have?
It's a variety. Let me show you a little bit. You know, you got young people. The sheriff just got through talking to the young people, and then you got, you got a mixture. It's very diverse out here.
Well, I think it's great that our younger people are getting involved. There's a lot for them to learn, but the best part about learning is being involved and actually doing. And, you know, this country was built on protest and demonstration. So this is great. And I was wondering if there's anybody out there registering to vote.
No, I don't think anybody is out here registering young people. I didn't even think about that, registering people to vote. But that would be a good idea.
Yeah, we used to do that back in the day when we had demonstrations. There would always be people out there registering people to vote.
Registering, yeah,
Because
exactly.
voting makes a difference, because we need committed people like you in office, people who are aware of what's going on in our communities, who are actually hands-on in touch. And the good part about that, if these people are local, they get to see you in action. This is very good.
Yes, I'm actually out here in the midst of it. These young people are frustrated. Old people are tired. Young people frustrated. You know, they want answers. They want to, you know, they say we're done dying. And it's important that we, you know, that I came out here, you know, this is my county, and stand in solidarity with them. Even though I'm running for office, even though I'm president of Georgia now, at the end of the day, I'm still a mother, you know, and you know, and I'm in fear for my children, you know.
Absolutely.
And it's you know, we're living in a time where, you know, that some Black men and Black boys are disposable. Their lives are being snuffed out of us, and you know, and people are not being held accountable. And that's what I want to do. I want to make sure that everybody is held accountable.
You know, I was looking at your
Sorry
platform.
for moving the camera around. It's just I'm standing up.
Okay, no problem. We understand. We understand. I was looking at your platform, and I was very interested in the portion that that you're going to be a champion for law enforcement reform and accountability. And I think that that's very relevant with what's going on right now. Would you want to speak a little bit about that? Oops, you're muted. Can't hear you.
Oh, that's me. That's me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'll try to stay in one spot. Am I good now? Can you hear me
Yes,
good now?
you're good.
No? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. You know, yes, we need criminal justice reform, but we need police reform. We need police to be able to, you know, have an assessment, have a psychological test done, have, you know, in event that there's a police involved shooting, you know, that immediate actions are taken on. The GBI is automatically come in as the independent authority to do investigation. We need things like I talked about this morning, like coffee with the cop, where people are sitting down with the police, you know, pizza with the protector, where we bridge that gap between the police and young people. We sit down and over pizza. What better way to have a conversation is over pizza, you know? And that our police force need to look like like the community that they are sworn to protect and serve. And so, you know, we for the most part we have that here. I have Chief Pounds standing right here next to me. He just got through talking to the people. If you all see, you know, they're out here. The National Guard was out here earlier as well. But we need to come together. We need to do this better. You know, rioting and looting and things like that doesn't solve anything, because at the end of the day, them buildings are going to be, you know, boarded up. They're going to be fixed the next day. But lives can't come back. Lives can't. George Floyd, he can't come back. Ahmaud Arbery can't come back. Breonna Taylor can't come back. So what are we doing? How are we going to come out on the other side of this? How are we going to come out? Are we going to come out where we have learned lessons and where we, you know, are sitting down at the table and talking to one another? What are we doing, you know, to come out on the other side of this? So we need criminal justice reform, but we also need police reform. We need our police officers to look like us. We need more police officers that look like us.
And I think, well, I sympathize with that actually, because you may not know, but I have a 25-year police background. And I came on to my department because there was a need for African-American officers to be out there. And there was a big push for that. and it made a big difference in my city. So yes, I honestly agree with what you're saying.
Mhm. And thank you so much for the opportunity. People can go. I'm running for Senate, and it covers Douglas, Carroll, and Paulding. And people can go to my website, trianaforgeorgia.com, Triana4Georgia.com, and read up on, some of the issues. Read up on my One Georgia plan. Follow me on social media. And look, I'm about bringing us together. I'm about bringing resources to rural Georgia, bringing businesses. Which, when you bring businesses, you bring jobs. Yes. Making sure we have health care so that our hospitals are not closing down, or our schools are not underfunded, paying our teachers a livable wage, especially out in rural Georgia. That's what matters. That's what the rural Georgia, we are the hardworking folks. We're the ones that make sure that everything else is working. Because I'm in rural Georgia. I'm from rural Georgia. And a lot of people think that, it's Atlanta and then everybody else. And it's not. We are one Georgia. And that's what I have launched, my One Georgia plan. I want to pull us all together and make sure that people know that rural Georgia need help as well.
Well, you have a great track record because you were responsible for bringing additional urgent care facilities to South Georgia.
Yes. And it was actually a Republican that helped open up them urgent care centers down in rural Georgia because the hospital was closed down. And, people had to travel 50 miles to the nearest emergency room. And that's I'm a mom. So what if I got a kid with a broken arm screaming in the back seat and I got to travel 50 miles to the nearest emergency room? That's unacceptable. And so, I helped open up them urgent care centers down in South Georgia, and hopefully we'll get a couple of more. We got 2 open, so hopefully we get a couple of more, within the next couple of years going on, because people need health care. They need to be able to go somewhere. And, people talk about there's no OBGYN in every county, but if I can't afford to go to that OBGYN, then what good is it? It's having an OBGYN in every county if I can't afford to go to that OBGYN. You have to excuse me because I get passionate about this. I get caught up, I mean, it's just, this is who I am. Wrong.
Well, we need passion. We need passion. We need passion. I had your resume here, which I'd love to read so everyone can know about it, but just thumbnails. You grew up in Smyrna in Marietta County, Georgia. You attended Morris Brown College. You joined the U.S. Army. Yay, Army! Served on active duty and in the reserves. Worked with diverse groups involved in, as you said, improving schools, farming, broadband in rural areas, gun sense laws. Let me hear more of it. And to make government effective and efficient. You were Mrs. Georgia. And that's where you did a lot of your political work. That's fantastic. And people need to know that. I mean, you worked with both Democrats and Republicans. Oh, I think we have you muted. You got me? Oh. There you go.
Oh, okay. It opened the doors for me. It gave me the opportunity to go down and sit, being a reigning Mrs. Georgia for 3 years in a row gave me the opportunity to, to talk with, elected officials, talk to community leaders, and say, because I hear the stories, I hear the real deal. They won't talk to an elected official or a police officer or things like that. They tell me the real deal, and I'm listening to these stories, and I'm like, that's not acceptable. We got to do better. We got to do better.
Well, how many people running for your office are with you right now?
Well, I have 2 other challengers. But I'm the only one that's been out there on the front line, and and then
yes,
I have a Republican challenger, opponent, and I believe that I'm the only one strong enough to beat him in November for me, because it's gonna take someone like me that's willing to stand up to to these feet, to the fight. and I'm gonna give him a run for his money. You know, he might have more money than me, but that's all right. You know, because I have the people, we the people. You know, the people been forgotten. You know, and that's not acceptable.
Well, I think it's important that you are out there on the ground right now where you could be sitting in a studio.
Right.
You elected
right.
to be there with the people.
I couldn't pass it. I couldn't pass it because we need to listen to these young folks. We need
Exactly.
to listen to them. I'm moving away a little bit because somebody is speaking right now. I want to make sure you can hear me.
Mhm.
But you can see what's going on. I wish I could turn my camera around. Well,
No,
you
you're
can
fine.
see, you know, everybody out here. You know, it's beautiful. We're out here. We're standing in solidarity with each other.
And I think it's important for people to know that that we have peaceful demonstrators out there.
Yeah.
And you can pan the camera around, it's like pan your iPad around.
Let me see if I can do that.
Yep.
You can see what's going on. It's very peaceful. The young people, you know, they had a couple of conversations with the chief, but for the most part, he's like, I'm one of you. I'm with you. I support you, you know.
And see, those conversations need to be known that they're happening. And those are important, especially for young people.
Exactly. I'm sorry. I'm trying to see what's going on.
Oh, I know. If you have to break away,
I'm safe.
Yeah, we truly understand. And we talked about registering, and I hope that comes about. Might be something to consider in the near future.
Someone said they had a question, like, how do I plan to build, to bridge the gap or build relationship between the three counties?
Yes.
Well, we need to all get on the same page. We need to be on one accord, you know. My district mostly covers Carroll County. It's mostly Republicans, you know, in that district, in that county, and then Democrats in Douglas and Paulding. But we need to come to the table. We need to have that opportunity to even come to the table first and foremost. And then once we come to the table, then we need to find a medium on the things that we agree with and the things that we don't agree with. We need to find a medium on that.
Nobody's going to get everything they want. But
right.
if you keep like this, you get nothing.
Right. We can find a medium. I believe that. I believe that we can find a medium.
Well, you've had experience doing that. It shows on your resume, and that's great. And I think that other candidates would have to learn that. And, you know, right now we need somebody who could hit the ground running.
Right. And that's another thing that I'm going to do. We need a down ballot strategy. You know, a lot of people, they go in, they vote for the president, but they don't look down ballot. They don't think about the agriculture commissioner. They don't think about the public service commissioner that controls our internet and our broadband, you know, our utilities. They don't think about that. So we need to go down ballot. And then we need to understand that these sheriffs, the DAs, the mayors, the city council, all of them, they are elected officials. And just like they got voted in, and if they're not doing for the people, they can get voted out. And a lot of people don't know that the sheriff is the coroner is an elected official. You know, they're elected. They get in office by our vote.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
That's why it's important that people register to vote. You register to vote, then you go vote. It's a 3-part series. That's what I call it. You register to vote, you go vote, and you take people with you.
There you go. And that's part of the learning process. Not just for our young people, but some of our older people too, who don't have that information.
Exactly. But thank you so much for allowing this opportunity for me to come on. You know, I was looking forward to 7 o'clock because I was going to be out here. But, you know, I know what you said earlier, you know, times change and you got to, you know, you got to adjust. You got to adjust as is.
Exactly.
But for the most part, everybody out here, they've been peaceful. You know, we had some chanting going on, you know, Black Lives Matter, no justice, no peace. There was some other folks, they were saying no racist police, you know, things like that. So, you know, people feel how they feel, they frustrated. So, you know, but what are we gonna do? Are we gonna, you know, be frustrated? Are we gonna do something about it?
Yep.
You know,
Vote for
how are
you.
we gonna do this?
Starts with our state senator for the 30th district, Miss
Right here.
Triana Arnold James. Let's do it. Let's get it done. Love
Thank
to
you
see
so
you
much.
November 4th celebrating.
Yes, exactly. We got to get past the June 9th. So if people got to go vote in the primary, we got to
Yes.
get past the primary. Then once we get past the primary, then we can go on and fight the fight in November. But
Amen.
she said my contact information is I'm on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, all of them. Triana, the number 4 Georgia. That's Triana, the number 4 Georgia.
Gotcha.
And he got a stop sign. And
fucking Douglasville. Stop killing us.
okay.
We're scared of shit.
That's what happens.
Yep. He got a skateboard too. You know,
Oh,
so
not a good
yeah,
sign.
you gotta let me see where my girls are. But
Okay.
TrianaForGeorgia.com is my website. Like I said, Triana for Georgia on all social media. You know, people find out, you know, more about me, send me questions. You know, I get phone calls all day about what to do, you know, things like that. No, I'm open. That's what I am. I'm about transparency. I'm about the people, and everything that I do, I'm taking it to the people.
Amen. Amen to that. Well, we thank you. We see it's getting busy now.
Yes,
So-
yes, it's getting loud. Okay,
So we hope to speak with you sometime after June 9th.
okay,
All right.
okay.
Take care and thank you very much, Mrs. Arnold James. And best of luck to you. We have been interviewing our candidate for Georgia's 30th district, for the senator of Georgia's 30th district, Mrs. Triana Arnold James, U.S. Army veteran, and she's a Morris Brown College graduate, reigned as Mrs. Georgia, and is a former candidate for lieutenant governor. We failed to mention that. But we hope to be speaking with her after June 9th as she prepares for her campaign in November, representing Georgia's 30th district, Senate district for the State House of Georgia. Thank you so very much. In our next half hour,
Douglas, Paulding, and Carroll, you know, vote for me.
thank you. And she put that in. She's representing Douglas, Paulding, and Carroll counties. So all of my listeners, do the right thing. Her name again, Triana Arnold James.
All right. Bye-bye now. Thank you
take
so
care.
much.
Thank
All
you
right.
very much for being with us. We really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was we just started off our show wonderfully, wonderful guest, Miss Triana Arnold James. Once again, candidate for state senator for the 30th district of Georgia. And we have another interesting guest who'll be coming with us shortly. That will be Judge Tamika Hrobowski Houston. But in the meantime, I like to stress to both my younger and older people that now, I mean, you see what's going on there in Douglas County. You see or you heard and saw some of the frustration. And if you're watching TV recently, you've seen that also. And demonstrations are good as far as they go. They make people aware that there are people frustrated, that there are people who want change. But as Mrs. Arnold James indicated, the way that you make those changes, you have to get out and vote. You have to get out and vote for the people who are going to make a difference for you. that happened in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And here we are in the 21st century. Nothing has changed along that line. You have to vote. All the yelling and screaming and walking and marching and sitting in and praying does nothing if you don't vote. And as the old saying goes, if you don't vote, you don't count. And this is a time when we need people to be at the polls for the primary in Georgia and the primary in whatever state that you happen to be in right now. We need people to be out there and by the millions. As I talked about many times, if you partnered with me on Facebook, last election, 2016 election, presidential election, 43 million people did not vote. 43 million registered voters did not vote. That is horrible, absolutely horrible. And there's an old saying that says, people don't get the government they want, they get the government they deserve. When you have 43 million people who elect not to take advantage of the opportunity to vote, you get what you got, folks. You get what you got. And things could be a lot better, but when you don't vote, people don't know who you are. If you don't take the sentence, we have a question coming in from Tamika.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. My error. But anyway, best way to establish change is to vote. Make your voice known. I think the demonstrations are great. It's great that our young people are involved. Actually, they need to be better organized. And as I can see with the demonstration that we saw, the people seem to be very organized and peaceful. And organization is really what you need. When you go helter-skelter, it makes for chaos. So very shortly, we'll be interviewing another guest. And while I'm have a minute or two before we do that, I've always been active politically in my community before I moved here from Philadelphia, and trying to be more active here in Georgia. And there was a lot of frustration out there. And one of the ways that I thought that we could become more positively showing or addressing our frustration is to be active in doing something. And I got an idea from listening to the Georgia Gang here on television here in Georgia. And one of the commentators said that one of the ways to get off some of that frustration that we have is to get involved. And one of the best ways to get involved is helping out the family of some of these people who have been murdered or killed. And here in Georgia at that time, the only situation that we were dealing with was the situation of Ahmaud Arbery in Glenn County, Georgia. And his attorneys for the family are working pro bono. That means they are working without any money being put out. They're putting themselves out there to help the family. So I came up with the idea of following up on what I saw in the Georgia Gang, that perhaps we could participate and be positive participants for change. And one of those ways is to send a little check. Doesn't have to be a big check. My check wasn't that big, it was big enough, but a small check. If millions of us do this, thousands of us do it, it'll make a difference. And the attorney for the family, one of the attorneys, and I hope you see this, is Lee Merritt Esquire, attorney at law. His office is at 123 South Broad Street, Suite 2250 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Zip code 19109. I put a little thing in my notes that says Aubrey support WCEG. That's Lee Merritt, Esquire, attorney at law, 123 South Broad Street, suite number 2250, Philadelphia, PA, 19109. And the Aubrey support WCEG. And I also have his email address if you want to reach out to him via email at info@leemerrittsesquire.com. And I've already sent to him, to his office, a letter putting myself out there, but letting them know to expect other checks to be coming in to help him and his staff with travel expenses, to help the family of Ahmaud Arbery with travel expenses and lodging. You see there on different TV stations. I think that there's going to be a lot of expenses involved in what they are about to be involved in as far as seeking justice for their son. I expect there's going to be travel involved. There's going to be needs for them to move around, to have lodging in different places. And I think this will be a great gesture on our part. Those of us who profess to be activists, those of us who profess to care about the plight of African-American people who are being murdered without consequence. If you want to make a difference, help me, help us by contributing to a fund that we're establishing right here on WCEG today to help out the lawyers, help out the family. And this is our stand for justice. This is our way of having a positive impact on things that are occurring in America. And I'd like to welcome our new guest, Mrs. Tamika Hrobowski Houston. She is a candidate for the Fulton County Superior Court, and that's a seat vacated by Judge Constance Russell a little while ago. Judge Houston, Hrobowski Houston, welcome to our program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad to have you. I just want for our audience, I was joking with Mrs. Rogers earlier that it will take me 20 minutes just to read your bio.
I tried to include a short one too.
But there's so many good things. So I just want to hit out a couple of high points that I mentioned. You attended Southern Illinois University at Carbondale, received an undergraduate degree in psychology, a minor in criminal justice. Then she received a Juris Doctor degree from the University of Illinois. Judge Houston's legal and judicial career spans 26 years. She doesn't look a day over 28.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And jumping down here, she then continued her federal government service, worked for the Social Security Office of Chief Counsel of the Inspector General, also very close to me because I once worked for the Inspector General of Pennsylvania.
I saw that.
In benefit fraud, just as you. And she's also very close to my heart. Had presided over conferences and hearings and final trials in domestic relations cases. We had 2 programs about that, as well as protective order cases. And she's has been involved in sports and entertainment contract review. I might need you, negotiation. And was recently recognized as 2020 Georgia Super Lawyer. And I'm just touching on a few things. She's extremely busy, extremely active, a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha. That's sorority is very close to my heart. It takes a long story to tell you, but I will always have a place in my heart for Alpha Kappa Alpha.
Good. So will I.
Welcome to our program.
Thank you, thank you.
Welcome to our program. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about you and your current campaign for Superior Court Judge.
Okay, well, I am running for Fulton County Superior Court Judge, and as you said, it's the seat being vacated by Judge Constance Russell. And I guess the irony in that is that when I was initially appointed to sit by designation as a Superior Court Judge in the Family Division, I was assigned to Judge Russell. So I got a chance to work under her, and she is amazing. She's amazing. The efficiency in which her courtroom runs, the way that she commands the respect of her staff, the care that she shows while being very straightforward and to the point and about handling her business. You can also see, though, that there is a deep caring for the parties that are coming before her. And I took all of that to heart. I count her as a mentor, and she would definitely be someone that I would continue to go to just to uphold the reputation of her particular seat in her courtroom. Mm-hmm. So I've been doing that. I've handled thousands of domestic relations cases, divorce, custody, child support, paternity, legitimation, you name it, as it is in respect to the family. And then I also preside over protective order cases where there's family violence involved or stalking. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I do now, in addition to my law and mediation practice, which has kind of shrunk as my responsibilities grow on the bench. So. And
you still have time for your family. Hard to believe. Balance here.
That's what I was going to say. There's balance.
Yes, I think it's great. I'm a former law enforcement officer, so I have a great love for and respect for the judicial process and people involved in what is a very, very difficult job. So after election, which will be the June 9th, you will still be as a Fulton County Superior Court Judge and overseeing what type of cases?
Well, once elected, I would go into, and this is the thing, you go into the rotation that they have for Family Division. And Family Division is, out of the 20 judges, there are 4 judges in Family Division, and they rotate in and out on 2-year rotations.
Okay.
And so normally the most junior judge would come into Family Division, which means that I would be right back where I am now, doing what I'm doing now. Mm-hmm. But in addition to the Family Division, of course, Superior Court handles felony criminal cases, adoption. They handle disputes between property owners, civil business disputes, things like that. So most people, when they're voting and they don't want to go all the way down to the bottom of the ballot where the judges are, it's super important, because that is, on that local level, is where a lot of these things hit people at home. I mean, on a personal level, because you'll have to come into Superior Court, like I said, if you're trying to get a divorce, if you're trying to legitimate your child, if you have a property dispute, if there's an issue with a personal injury case or medical malpractice or wrongful death, or your neighbors infringing on your property. So those kind of things, people are going to need to go into Superior Court, and they need to elect judges that they deserve to have, judges who can handle their matters efficiently and effectively and make intelligent decisions.
I think that's great. And sadly, I guess it's because of the way our system works, you very seldom see judicial candidates publicly campaigning anywhere. So I feel privileged just, to have you. But it's also important to point out how important that is for our candidates. What do you think are the greatest challenges in the Superior Court system that you would face?
Right now, I think that the biggest thing is the perception of the judiciary and the judicial system. It's a perception that there is a lack of access. There is the perception that once you gain access, you're not treated fairly. And I think that perception needs to be addressed. And it goes back to, you don't see a lot of the candidates out publicly, in addition to the COVID issue, but because we can't really take stands on particular issues. You can't really,
Correct.
you know, because you have to sit there and be neutral and apply the law, the intent as well as how it's written, and to the facts that are before you on a case-by-case basis. But I think that in addition, we have to be a little more visible to the community in order to appear more accessible, instead of walking into court and feeling like you are dealing with this person that's sitting up on high who has no ability to relate with where you may be coming from and things like that. I think that you battle that with being more visible in the community. And I would continue my current community service. I would continue that once elected. And then the access issue, there's a lot of resources that people aren't even aware of in the courthouse with respect to it's too expensive. Well, you can apply for a waiver. You can ask that those fees be waived. Well, I can't afford representation. In criminal cases, you get the PD. In civil cases, it's a little more difficult, but there are still resources with the Atlanta Volunteer Lawyers Foundation, with legal aid, with attorneys that are just donating their pro bono time with some of these larger firms. So there are resources there. We have a Justice Resource Center inside of the courthouse where you can go and get forms, you can get a free consultation with an attorney and kind of get guidance, because some of the cases, if you fill out the forms correctly, you just need to provide those to the judge. If everybody's in agreement and they just want to get a legitimation done or even an uncontested divorce done, you know, they don't have to be afraid of that. You can have that access, but that goes back to being more visible and then providing more education to the public. And I think coming directly from the judges, sometimes that would, you know, make an impression upon the people that are coming in to know that it's not just coming in and we see you when it's something terrible going on, because these people are coming in not because they want to necessarily sometimes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's at some of the lowest points in their lives and they don't necessarily want to be there, but to know that you're there to get them through this versus just, you know, sticking it to them.
Correct. Yes.
You know, it's different, because people don't usually come out of court and say, well, that particular statute just wasn't in my favor, and the reasoning was this, that, or the third. They come out and it's an expression of, that judge didn't listen to me. They didn't treat me fairly. I didn't get to say what I wanted to say. And that's the experience that carries on out into the community, because that's what's shared. And then the perception is created. So I think that, you know, you come in to my court, you get a judge that's neutral, knowledgeable, respectful. And it doesn't change because this person is from this, you know, has this amount of money or has this status or anything like that. That's just what you get. And I think if people can be more confident that that's what they're going to get, you build a little more confidence and credibility in the system as well.
That's great. I see, you know, your involvement with the Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys. I'm sure that's beneficial. And also your community involvement. You seem to be very committed to giving back to the community. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, there are a couple different avenues. Of course, through Alpha Kappa Alpha, we have many community service projects going on. We collect book bags, we collect toys, clothes, and we adopt school children, provide the school supplies, things like that. So I do that through that organization, but also I have, and this was through Alpha Kappa Alpha as well, with MedShare. I volunteered with them. Then one of my sorority sisters actually has an organization called the Enchanted Closet. I volunteer there, and it actually helps young girls, and it provides different seminar type situations where they've done human trafficking, they've done etiquette and manners, things like that, just to give the girls a wider view and more exposure. And then her big thing is the prom dress giveaway, where yes. around prom time, yes. They get to come in and they get to shop, and we volunteer to be dressers. So we kind of walk them around and show them the different dresses and get them to the fitting room and all that kind of stuff, just to kind of give them, you know, girls that wouldn't otherwise have that full experience, give them that experience. They get the dress, then they get to go pick out their shoes, their accessories, things like that. And these are girls who have shown superior academic achievement, who have done well in school, and they deserve this. So this gives back to them. So and it makes me feel good to do that.
I'm telling you.
Thing. Yeah.
I had one question. Are you aware of your position on the ballot? Because as we said, you know, people scroll down and sometimes they forget. So would you know what position you are on the ballot for judge? Difficult question.
Right, because it depends. When I went and voted, the ballot was actually, the paper ballot was a page and like a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And we were mid-page, 3/4 of the way down. And it literally says, for Judge, Superior Court, Atlanta Judicial Circuit. And it says in parentheses, to succeed Constance C. Russell. And then my name is number 2 on the ballot. And there are 4 individuals in my race.
That's a matter of getting your name out there.
Right.
Well, you know, we had several programs, or at least 2, where there was a lot of information we tried to put out on domestic issues and family issues.
Mm-hmm.
And would you be able to offer any information to facilitate our listeners in that area as far as procedures and steps that they can take?
Is there anything in particular? Because I have one thing in particular that I like to talk about, because it's—
Please do.
Okay, so, and I come across this not only in regular cases when you have paternity, where the young lady is attempting to establish paternity so she can pursue child support, things like that. I also come across it in protective order cases where you have the mother and father, and they're in there and they had been doing fine with visitation, exchanging the child. And at some point, mom has decided, I'm not going to do it anymore, or I don't want to do it this time. And he comes and he's like, I need to get my child, and, you know, threats are made, things like that. And they come in and he's irate because he's like, but why can't I see my child? Because once the threat is made and that ex parte order issues, there's no more visitation. Mm-hmm. And so my question becomes for him, is the child legitimated? And probably 8 to 9 times out of 10, there's a blank look that comes across his face. He's like, well, I signed the birth certificate. And I'm like, no, that's not my question.
Right.
Have you legitimated the child? Have you come? And he asks, what does that mean? Or he continues with the blank look. And I'm like, have you gone into court, filed a petition saying that I want to be named the legal parent? I want to be declared the legal father of this child, and got an order saying that you are the legal father of this child. And almost invariably he says, no, I didn't know I had to do that because I signed the birth certificate. I spent time with my child. I spend money. I pay for this. I pay for that. And I tell him, here is where my hands are tied. I said, because I think you're right. There shouldn't be any reason for you not to see your child. However, because you haven't legitimated the child, I have no ability to allow you to see your child. Because as of right now, how we stand, mom has sole legal and physical custody of this child, and any visitation is solely at her discretion. And that's where I think we have to go above and beyond just issuing an order. Sometimes I think we have a duty to educate beyond that, because at that point I tell them, however, you need to legitimate. That's why I asked you that question, because once you legitimate it, now you're on equal standing with mom, and you can ask for everything that mom gets. And well, I go to the 7th floor, and now we have the new Justice Resource Center.
Okay.
So don't quote me on the 7th floor, but ask for the Justice Resource Center. And you go there and you can get the consultation with the attorney. They'll walk you through the forms. And then at that point, I'll put in this order here, because you will have to stay away from her because you can't make the threats. But
Okay.
as far as your child, I won't put the child in this order. What I'll do is say that the judge who makes the legitimation determination will hear much more evidence regarding you and the child's relationship, will be able to assign visitation. If they find that visitation is warranted, then they'll go ahead and they'll be able to do that. But this protective order will not be the reason why you won't see your child. So that's just one thing. Nobody really understands that, but it's
That is
there.
important.
It's a process. Absolutely. It's a
That's the
process.
first I've heard of that, and I'm sure the first many of our listeners have heard of that. That's essential.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Because men don't understand that you can literally, once you have a woman has the child, she can go to the child support office later and say, this is the guy. That's the father of my child. They will get him served. And sometimes I've heard guys come in and they have issues with the child support and this, that, and other. That's not even my child. I haven't done paternity, anything. And it's because they got the letter and it said, you need to pay child support for this child. And they're like, that's not my child. And they throw it away.
I'm smiling and laughing, but it's really sad, especially when it happens to you. I really thank you for imparting that information. That is very, very, very important and relevant language. And we don't often get to have this back and forth or information sharing for someone in the judiciary. I think that's great. I think it's great. And your legal experience, you've worked like both sides of the fence, so to speak.
I've been all around the courtroom.
Yes. So I'm sure that would be a great contributor to being what we would refer to as a well-rounded judge.
Right. Because the number and just the variety and volume of cases that comes through Fulton County Superior Court, it's the busiest trial court in Georgia. So just the volume and the variety of cases, the fact that I have touched a lot of different legal issues in my career. And that would just makes me, when things come before me, I have seen it probably in some form or fashion. It's not going to be just brand spanking new to me, to where I have to go and do all of this original research or get caught up or anything. There won't necessarily be that big of a learning curve at all, because I have seen a lot in my career.
Now, appeals wouldn't come through you, that would be above you, correct?
The appeals of my things, there are some appeals that Superior Court handles, out of state court. So, but other than that, you would be appealing me. The Court of Appeals checks my homework.
Okay.
And then the Supreme Court checks the Court of Appeals homework.
Well, I would say, to sum it up, to ask why should people vote for you, but I think you've pretty much touched on it.
I just know that the residents of Fulton County, they deserve a Superior Court judge that has the experience, the knowledge, and the work ethic to make the intelligent decisions and make them in an efficient manner. And when voters go to the polls, they're going to have a choice, and they can choose the judge who has a 26-year legal career spanning a probably the broadest range of experience of any of the candidates. They can choose the judge who's working right now in the midst of this pandemic, holding the Zoom hearings and utilizing the new technology to kind of keep this train moving along so we don't have these huge backlogs. They can choose the judge who realizes that these decisions that we're making in these courtrooms, they have far-reaching consequences, even beyond the parties that are before us. And then they can choose the judge who simply, I just want to do the work, do it well.
Yes.
And so if they want to have all of that, they can vote for me, Tamika Hrobowski Houston, for Fulton County Superior Court.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. Judge Tamika Hrobowski Houston, we wish you the best.
Thank you
very
so
much so. Come on June the 9th, and we'll be cheering right for you.
Thank you, thank you. And I want to get your book, but I need you to sign it for me.
Oh, absolutely. You caught me off guard.
Sorry. It looks like an interesting read, so I want to get that, but I want you to sign it for me.
I tell you, I will send it to you.
Okay, that works too.
I will send it to you. I guess I can get your address later if we send it to you, but I will do that today.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. We much appreciate it.
All right, and I think I have an information. I have a question.
Go ahead. Sure.
Okay, and it's a question from the chat.
Okay.
And it asks, what programs would I be implementing to address social issues? And do I have time?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so one thing that I would like to implement, and this goes back to the education and the education with respect to access, the education with respect to the resources that are available, education about like the legitimation issue that I described earlier. I would like to come up with some type of program where the judges were accessible, more accessible, able to have questions asked of them. And again, we can't answer questions regarding specific cases and things like that. However, we can make it clear to people what is expected of them when they come into our courtrooms, and let them know what is expected of us when they come into our courtrooms. And then with respect to other issues, we have specialized courts. We have a parental accountability court when guys get behind, or females when they get behind on their child support, where they can come in and they can get assistance with getting back on track. I don't know that it's utilized as much as it should be. So again, the resources are there. I just think there needs to be a push towards greater utilization. We have mental health court, we have substance abuse or drug court, veterans court. And I just think that the number of referrals needs to be much greater, because if we don't utilize these specialized courts and look at these defendants in their particular circumstances and try to get to the root cause of why they're coming back again and again, whether they've had access to the treatment programs, and if they did, how did they do? What happened? Were they medicated? Are they taking their meds? Have they been on a prior lesser restrictive probation custody status, and that didn't work? And at the same time, we can tailor some of the programs. I think that we need to just have those programs utilized more. And with that, I would like to implement just a more comprehensive pre-sentencing investigation process, because that way we get back to that whole unconscious bias or conscious bias. We get back to addressing all of that by having facts. If I know what your priors were, how many priors, the circumstances, whether you've had treatment, what some of your familial background is, what type of support system you have. If I have that type of information and facts to base my sentencing decisions on, then we can go in, and it's less likely to be because of any bias, whether conscious or unconscious. And it's based on, because you have facts to base that on versus any type of bias. And with that, you also reach the actual root to a certain degree of what is the cause of this, rather than just cycling people through the system in and out with the same issues they came in with, and they're coming out with the same issues. I mean, we can't really expect a different result. That's kind of that very definition of insanity, doing that same thing over and over again. So those are some of the issues that the programs that I would like to implement. And just, again, some of the resources are there. We just need to push them out there so they're for the greater public consumption.
That's a great answer. One that I haven't heard before. Again, it's full of information for the audience, and I hope people are listening and taking notes, because I'm sitting down here scribbling myself. It's very, very important. Do we have any other questions?
That was the only one.
Or any other point that you would like to address?
No, I really appreciate you allowing me to come on and have the platform so that I can, like you said, get my name out and to let people understand exactly where I am coming from and what I have to offer. Because at this point, I love my job. I really do love my job. And the family division, because we do touch people on some very sensitive issues, I'm cognizant of that. And then on the other side, when you're not in family, you're handling civil and you're handling criminal and all that. Again, because of my exposure early on, being on the prosecutorial side and then being on the criminal defense side, I've dealt with that. And then with respect to the civil, I've done personal injury. I've done litigation on behalf of organizations and individuals when they're having contract disputes, or you have an organization that's split off and we're wondering where does the money go. I've done all of that. So I've been there and done that with respect to the processes on the front of the bench, and now would like the opportunity now to serve on the other side of the bench and handle those types of cases as well.
No training wheels required.
There you go. I like that. I'm going to use that. Plus, we have election day is June 9th.
Yes.
June 10th, the work would start, because even though you don't take the seat, I wouldn't take the seat until January 1st. There's a lot of things that I would like to get in place just to get prepared in order to have the systems in place to be ready to go day one, because those cases aren't waiting for anybody to catch
I
up.
understand.
They aren't.
Well, we'll be here cheering for you. And
I appreciate that.
it's really been our pleasure
Thank you.
speaking with you. You were a wealth of information, and I'll make sure you get that book.
Appreciate you.
Yes,
I
delivered.
really do appreciate
Yes. So Judge, thank you so very much. That's Judge Tamika Hrobowski Houston, running for Superior Court Judge of Fulton County. Come on, folks, let's get it done.
you. Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
And the book, ladies and gentlemen, that she was speaking about is this book. And I'm going to be pulling out a few quotes from this book. It's called The Long Blue Walk, My Journey as a Philly Cop. And we're at a time where people are talking about police reform. And there's a couple of things that I found looking in here. I have a whole section on integrity control. It's not just a book about my experience in policing. It's about some resolutions and some of those things that we talked about that came across earlier were getting people going to meeting with their police officials in their districts, meeting at times when there's not conflict. Just there should be regular meetings at least once a month that you can attend to help improve your policing. And there are so many other suggestions there that I have, but once again, it's The Long Blue Walk, My Journey as a Philly Cop. You can pick it up at Amazon.com and let me know what you think about it. Well, it's been a great show. We've had a wealth of information. I really enjoyed this show, and the time flies so fast. We could have done so much more. But do not forget what I said about Mr. Merritt and the Aubrey and the check to the for the Ahmaud Arbery attorney. I think that's a good way to show your activism, folks. So we can get a few million checks, a few 100,000 checks, small checks. Don't have to be a lot of money. $5, $10. We'll do it just to get to Mr. Lee Merritt. His office is in Philadelphia. And I put the information up earlier, and I hope you will all take advantage of that. And we'll realize that you have been listening to the WCEG network. It's been the new WCEG network. My name is Norman A. Carter Jr. It has been my pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you again, folks, in the very near future, somewhere around July the 6th. Special day for me. Look forward to seeing you around that time. Until then, folks, have yourself a great day. It's been wonderful being with you. Information sharing on issues and answers. Have a good evening.